I'm hopeful, regardless of the outcome. Boost the positive energy without one. Sorry about the jab, I'm on a holy field. I'm bearing fruit, but demons try to eat them like Yoshi meals. I'll piss them off the Batman like Falcone deals. Jungle full of predators, I know how Mowgli feels. So I got the fire, refuse to live in fear. I can spot suppliers, eating fresh drugs. Call me private label.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to episode 172 of the Permaculture Pimpcast, the only pimpcast on planet Earth where we discuss permaculture, preparedness, and practical living. Oh, yeah, man. Right off the bat, my buddy Bill Zegley in the house. Also, Lenny AB. Well, I want to say hi to everybody out there. And if you would, go ahead and hit that thumbs up because it tells the algorithms to immediately start suppressing us. Okay, Jeffrey. Also, Vicky. Yeah. All right, this episode, as always, brought to you by Hickory Ridge Soap from TwoOldCrowsHomestead.com. Turn that simp into a pimp. Bam! Heaven's Harvest, y'all. 10% off with promo code PERMA. Yeah, handle all your preparedness needs yourself. But I'm telling you what, y'all, if you're in need of seeds, I'm telling you right now, the stuff they have, they claim 85% germination rate. For us, it's been 100%. And I'm not even joking about that. We even did the video about it. Want to thank everybody who's in the house tonight. We're going to go live again. We'll see if they'll suppress us just like they did last time. We got demonetized yet again every single time, even though there wasn't a single thing said in the last episode that I went live that should have got us banned, at least all the things that we think we know about. That's part of the reason why we kept it only to the audio platform. So tonight's going to be a special night, but we'll get into that in a minute. In fact, I'll bring on my guest. He's probably going to be my guest host here in a minute. I'll bring him on in a minute. He's on early, so I'll go ahead and bring him in early. Well, if you would like to listen to us in another modality, you can check us out in the Fountain app. You can listen to all your other podcasts over there as well. You can even double up the speed, triple it up. I would say leave messages over there, but as of late, we just haven't had time to get in there and deal with it. So if you would like to drop a derivation of Bitcoin over there called sats, you can easily do it over there. So drop some SATs on some PIMPs if you would like to. And once again, if you're coming in the house, go ahead and hit that thumbs up. Well, William, I'm going to go ahead and bring you on early. I'm going to bring you on live. I haven't gotten into the farm news yet. I figure you and I can sucker MC this thing back and forth. How you doing, son?
Good. How are you, Dad?
I'm good. Everybody, I'm sure out there is wanting to know how everything's doing, but we'll get into that. So I'll tell you what, we'll do this a little bit different. I'll talk about my farm news, but you kind of got to keep some of yours on the shelf for the main topic. So I'll go ahead and kick this off. If you want to jump in, go right ahead. I'm sure you're going to want to jump in on the good news section. So farm news, Michelle, your mom, went out today and decided she was going to go ahead and put on a rucksack. And I think it's 35 pounds, she said in there. And she went 14 miles, but her shoes ain't working out. So she's got blisters and everything. But I'm telling y'all, that woman is as hard as 3 times 9 because despite having blisters everywhere, she went ahead and sucked it up and she got it done. And she must have really been stepping it out because her pace was somewhere around a 15-minute mile. So for those of you that are thinking about in the prepper world, sorry, y'all, I don't like to use words that end in ER. So if you're in the preparedness world, if you're walking at 15-minute miles, that's exactly what the standard is for a soldier. And that's about walking as fast as you can go without running. So what, son, what do you think about your mom doing that?
Dang, that's pretty cool, especially in the mountains. Where is she rucking? Is it just around the house? Or?
No, I don't want to disclose the location for security reasons, although she is armed, and that's part of the reason. So I don't want her to have to plug anybody full of holes walking up and down these trails. But that's pretty impressive, especially being up in the mountains. So yeah, everybody out there, Homesteading Pastors in the house, y'all can be sure to go check him out as well on YouTube. And William, real quick, in case people haven't done it, tell them where they can find you on YouTube.
The Permaculture Consultant. That's where you can find me on YouTube. I'm on Instagram and TikTok and stuff like that, but mostly just on YouTube. And that's where I'm posting all the updates on the property out here.
Well, yeah, we'll get into that in a minute, man. You're doing a bang up job. All right, so other farm news, I'm still carrying hay up the side of this mountain, trying to get this silvopasture area up and running. Believe me, this stuff is going to make me strong. Walking all this stuff right up this mountain, and it's a chore. But folks, I want to point this out: the beauty, and maybe William will want to key in on this a little bit. The beauty of doing stuff like this is that when I'm dropping that hay out there, obviously there's going to be some hay seeds in there too. And I ain't just talking people. But son, I mean, you haven't prepared. I mean, I know you know your deal. When I'm sitting here dropping carbon out here in a very denuded area, what's happening?
A bunch of stuff is happening. You're feeding the soil microbes. You're providing a safe space for seeds to start growing. You're retaining moisture on the land. You're doing a whole bunch of stuff. Nothing but beneficial things are happening.
Bam. And at the same time, also feeding these animals. So whatever they leave left over, that broad byproduct that's laying on some of that bare dirt up there, it's only going to create good things. So like I said, I mean, William is one of those people in this world. I know he knows what he's talking about. So I don't have to wait for him to get prepared. I can just hit him with this stuff right off. I'll tell you what else I've been doing, y'all, as of late, and this isn't out of fear, but this is part of the farm news, is I'm evaluating security about a number of things. A couple of crazy things have gone on. I'm not going to talk about it publicly, but it's making me redefine all the electronic means that can be brought to bear in addition to your animal means. Like when something's lurking around there, believe me, you may not hear it, but if you got dogs, they're probably going to let you know, and you probably ought to pay attention to that. So that's one place I've really been spending a lot of time as well. And also another thing I've been doing is weed eating like crazy. I know that spring is going to be upon us, and all this silvergrass that is up here that I'm getting rid of, it's like a full court press to get this stuff suppressed before it becomes vegetative and then a nightmare all over again. So if I can beat it back and get it plumb to the ground, I can come back after that and go ahead and do some awesome things. And I'm talking about that in some of the videos, so stay tuned for that. So did a lot of running around today, had to do a bunch of errands. Folks, look, I guess I know they keep telling us there is no inflation. Well, I've been a journeyman electrician for 25 years, y'all. And to put up this solar system that I'm working on right now, I know this is like a massive overkill, but as far as the bracket that the solar panels are on, it requires a 4-inch rigid pipe. Folks, do you know what they're charging for a 10-foot stick of a 4-inch rigid pipe? That sucker, I kid you not, is almost $400. But there ain't no inflation, son. What's that inflation looking like on your end?
Well, it's funny that I just got done looking at rigid pipe because at an estate sale, I've been going to a lot of estate sales lately to find some old tools that are not too bad to refurbish and stuff. And there was a plate tamp there that I got, and I was thinking, oh, cool, I can just put a piece of rigid down in there, put in a screw and stuff like that and call it good. I could have almost bought a new plate tamp for the price of a piece of rigid pipe. It was ridiculous.
It's crazy. I'm going to try to go. I think what I'm going to do is try to go to the scrap yard because they ain't getting $400 out of me. I'm like, okay, this solar thing costs enough already. And no, that's why at the solar place, they're sitting there trying to sell me this pipe. I'm like, look, y'all, I didn't just step out of the cotton fields. I wasn't indignant, but I was like, come on, man, I've already spent enough money here. It's that same place where we went before. And she's trying to tell me, oh, we got a deal at $375. I'm like, man, get out of here. I ain't paying no $375. And so she says, well, and then she wrote down the number. I was like I said, I was aggravated because I'm like, all right, I done spent enough money with y'all already. And this is how you're going to treat me. And I'm like, you mean to tell me you won't throw this in? She says, no, I'm telling you, $375 is what the price is. I walked out of there. And I'm like, okay, do you have any idea how much of this stuff I ran when I was doing industrial electrical work? Man, it is blowing my mind. So I'm going to check out some scrap yards. I'm going to see what I can find. Worst case scenario, let me tell you what plan B is going to be. Black locust, because I need a mast that's sticking straight up. I'm going to go ahead and if I got to, I'll whittle it down a little bit, but I'm figuring I can use a black locust post. Number one, it's going to be strong. Number two, there we go. Got the thumbs up on there. Every time you make some kind of, it's the AI doing all this stuff. Also, the AI telling everybody to suppress us. So, Yeah, I'm going to be looking for these Plan Bs, and I'm going to be checking the scrap yards because, like I said, they ain't getting no $400 out of me. I will come up with something else, man. I'll be cutting down telephone poles before that happens. Um, so, um, running around,
You don't need
man.
this power anyway.
Nah,
Send it to
hey, y'all
someone.
about, yeah, we're about to hit an EMP anyway, so why not? Um, no, check this out, man. Doing a lot of running around. Check this out. So your mom, she's over here. I know she's going to be a while going 14 miles on foot. So I got to do all this running around things I've been putting off, looking for rigid pipe and whatnot. And of course, I got to go to the barber shop. And I can't, folks, I don't mean any offense out there to some of you folks that are barbers, but man, I didn't go to my normal barber who I know. And I went to this other lady, and turns out, man, I'm pretty sure she was a witch, which ain't all that uncommon here in Asheville. Man, she's got like that stuff and like Gryffindor things and all this stuff. And I didn't notice it until I sat down in the chair. And then she keeps talking. And then after everything she says, she's like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? And then at first I'm like, huh? Yeah. Uh-huh. And then finally, man, it's just radio silence. So anyway, she did a halfway decent job. But as I'm leaving there, I'm going back because I know it's coming down to picking up your mom. And I'm sitting here at the stoplight. Kid you not, seeing this dude cross the street with green hair, a skirt. He's got stockings and stuff on, and got these ballerina slippers. I mean, like he's about to sing Good Ship Lollipop or something. And I sat here just seeing him cross, didn't think nothing about it. He gets over to the other side of the street, and I'm like, hold on, what's wrong with me? This now is normal. I sat here and I seen this dude looking like he's about to be shot out of a cannon cross the street right there in front of me, where I kid you not, green hair, ballerina slippers, a skirt, and got a beard. But I'm sure he was called man.
Was it over by that ballet conservatory over there in Asheville?
No, I wasn't nowhere near there.
Make sense contextually.
No, it did. I'm sitting here. I sit here and see this dude cross the street. I'm sitting here watching. And then I ain't paying no attention. I'm sitting here listening to a podcast on the thing anyway. As soon as he gets across, I do a double take like, hold on, dude, this stuff is so ubiquitous now, man. This is normal. So I'm thinking, okay, man, maybe I've been, and I don't get out much, man. I mean, so I'm thinking maybe I'm the one getting desensitized here. All right, y'all. So before we're going to get into the good news here in a minute, but before we do that, once again, I want to thank everybody here on the live stream. Once again, hit that thumbs up if you're coming in the house. Let them know to start suppressing us right off. Because for whatever reason, every time we go live, it's going to get suppressed. It's going to get demonetized, the whole 9 yards. So I'm going to try to be especially on my best behavior tonight. But if y'all want to trip in the chat and say all the things in the chat that I can't say, knock yourself out. Okay. Yeah, we'll just go ahead and, just go scorched earth on this thing. All right. So y'all coming up here soon. Organic Grower School asked me to speak there. That's going to be March 8th and 9th. They even got, that guy up in Canada. Oh man, I can never remember his name. He has like 3 names and typical Canadian kind of French name. Oh my goodness. The guy's world famous and he's real good at market gardening. It'll Jean, whatever. I can't think of his name. He's going to be there.
Jean-Claude Van Damme. He's coming up there to kick people.
Yeah, he's going to show everybody how to do a spinning back kick on a green hair crossing the road. No, we don't have Jean-Claude, but it's man, I can't even, it's embarrassing. I can't even think of his name. But anyway, he's going to be there, and looks like they got some really cool demonstrations, tree propagation, stuff like that. But once again, I'm going to be there. So that's going to be March 8th 8th, 9th, and 10th, I believe. So look up Organic Grower School. That's going to be in Mars Hill, North Carolina. So, and then also coming down the road, we're going to have more of these folks on the broadcast. Keeper of the Old Ways. I was initially going to be at that one. Man, it's a really good one. It's down in Dothan, Alabama, or Alabama, as some of them say down there. It's April 12th and 13th. You're going to want to be there for that. Fantastic location, really, really great for kids. I mean, it's probably one of the best festivals you never heard of. So folks, I mean, David the Good, I'm pretty sure is going to be there. Flomaton Famous, Man, there's so many people I'm missing right now, but man, that is a really good festival. Hope to get them on the show. All right, before we get into the good news, one last thing: Redemption Shield. They're a sponsor of the show. And it's because I asked them to be. Their stuff works that well. So if you need grounding at the house, like Michelle is doing as I speak, down on the couch, she's grounding her feet, grounding her hips, all the things that are hurting. By the time I'm done with this podcast, I guarantee you she will go from being at, I think her pain level might have been an 8. She'll probably be down to 2 in just the hour that I've been on here. So Redemption Shield, you'll get 10% off with promo code PERMA. So we put our money where their mouth is. I am a customer. All right, so son, I'm going to
Hey, real quick on that Redemption Shield. I've been getting comments on my channel from people that have gotten stuff from Redemption Shield with awesome reviews and stuff. People seem to really like the products that they sell.
Well,
I've been
of all the
getting
people
comments on my channel about it.
Well, of all the when I first found out about this grounding, I read Clint Ober's book. He's basically the guy that did all the legwork. He's like a multimillionaire, paid for all the research and all that stuff. I got his book, and then I'm like, okay, well, let me reach out to all these grounding people, see if they'll let me test their stuff. And it was a solemn no on every single case. And Gina over at Redemption Shield, she told me, she says, okay, I'm gonna send you everything, and if it don't work, let me know and we'll make it right. And one of the biggest things I've always had a complaint with are these Faraday bags that you put your phone in, because if you can still get a phone call through that bag, it ain't working. So everything I tried, she sent it to me. I'm like, I'm already halfway confident. And then I actually put this stuff to the test and it worked. So I'm like, okay, if you stand behind your product like that, where you're willing, because I'm like, good news or bad news, I'm going to tell everybody about it. And then the rest of them like, my bad. We didn't hear that email. But Gina was the only one to do that. And so she's a good woman. And honestly, I wear that that beanie you see me wearing all these videos lately. That thing's got silver shielding in there. She demonstrated it on the show. I need to wear that sucker every time I go to Asheville, man. I don't need that stupid kind of getting into my head. So anyway, we're going to jump right into the good news. So son, feel free to chime in. So check this out. Somebody did the numbers, and apparently 89,000 babies have been saved ever since overturning of Roe versus Wade. So I'm calling that good news. What do you think?
That's awesome. Yeah, that is one unique thing about being back in Texas, is that I don't get a bunch of they thems to compete with or to get in the way or anything like that. And like, there aren't people protesting pro-abortion and stuff like that left and right around here. Everybody's on the same page for the most part concerning abortion. Yeah,
so I'm guessing the only downside is you don't get any black privilege, because ain't nobody playing that game back there.
No, the knuckle dragon coons done ruined it down here.
Yeah. You ain't getting it back here. Yeah.
And then the drivers, it's insane. These drivers are crazy.
Yeah, there's a reason why our insurance, every time our insurance doubled when we moved from Texas, and it got cut in half when we moved away. When I was working there, I worked with these Mexican dudes in Dallas at the Facebook data center when that thing was being built in Waco. I think it was Waco. No, it was North Dallas, somewhere around there. These guys would brag about how many accidents they were in. It was like a rite of passage. Yeah. So stay alert, stay alive out there, son. All right.
Yeah.
So next one, study reveals the power of coffee against the sweet and sour sniffles. I'm not going to call it what it is. So, I'm not going to call it what it is, because I'm sure that'll be another reason to, cut this thing down. But anyway, they're saying that if you're a coffee drinker, that whatever the latest, and I got to be clever about how I say this, whatever the latest manufactured pestilence might be, is, I guess I can say it that way. So you're at least a little bit protected. So for all you coffee drinkers out there, fill her up. So anyway,
nicotine as well.
What's that?
I said apparently nicotine as well, Dad.
Oh yeah,
that documentary you sent me.
Yeah, I want to send that also. Hey, Pastor Lon said he's using that grounding mat right now. So it works. I'm telling you what. If you can't get outside, or let's just say you're sitting at the TV or sitting in the house, it ain't comfortable to be outside, put your dogs on that mat, y'all. And I even started grounding my shoes, but I ain't telling nobody about that just yet. That's like one of them little top secret things I got going. All right. So the third one right now, check this one out. And I shouldn't be laughing at this, but I can't help it. Glenn says, I see it. I see y'all made it through the solar flare. Yeah. How about that? I'm sure there's going to be a whole lot of other things going on. Glenn, that's exactly what I'm preparing for, is the results of maybe a Carrington event. And it's not that in particular. For those that, I don't mean to digress, but I just want to cover this real quick. If you prepare for an EMP, then you are prepared for everything. So I'll just leave it right there. All right, so check this one out. Third good news story. Lori Davis. Hey, what's up? I wonder if is that the Lori Davis I know, or is that somebody else? Anyway, Wall Street Journal reporter who told readers to save money by skipping breakfast just got canned. How about that?
Good.
Yeah. So you know what? These guys, I suspect, are the victims. Nobody's talking about it yet, but I honestly believe that some of the first people that are going to be replaced by AI, and probably is probably going to be these reporters.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, because they can do, I mean, they're already puppets. They already have all the mannerisms, all the call centers are replaced by AI right now. Like if you call up, like I tried to call up Home Depot today, I had to encounter like 2.5 minutes of AI before I could finally get to a person.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm getting at, is that all these people that, you know, they're the nouveau almondine, thin crust, bottled water, deep fried city food kind of people. All those folks that sit here and stick their pinkies up and go to their cocktail parties and think, oh, just because I got a desk job, they kind of crap on blue collar people like me. Blue collar people like you, but at the end of the day, AI ain't running no conduit. AI ain't putting in no 4-inch conduit. AI ain't fixing your power lines. AI ain't out there fixing your gas line. You need people, you need boots on the ground. This is why I love that Mike Rose so much from Dirty Jobs, because this dude has been going on about this forever and a day. He's like, okay, even all you guys, all you doctors out there, you MDs, who think that means medical deity, all you MDs out there, you're probably going to be replaced by AI as well. And the way they're talking about it is that one doctor will basically be doing the work of about 30 with the assistance of AI. So,
right. I think the next thing to go also are truckers. Think of all the convoys they've had these past couple years. They probably have a huge push just to replace that with AI driving and stuff like that.
Well, even Elon Musk, if I remember, is even talked about, you know, that's going to be one of the first shoes to drop, is that all these truckers out there right now, you know, and some people were saying that's why they want the 5G, because they can't trust 4G and they need the bandwidth of 5G to be able to handle all these trucks. Even that guy who used to work at Google, he even said that that's one of, you know, transportation jobs. But I'm telling you what, all you white collar people that stick your nose up at all of us blue collar people, you're about to be singing a different story. Just like this guy, like what they were saying, learn to code, or go do this, go do that. Well, if you can't live out a Hank Williams Jr. song, you're going to have problems, nephew. So that's exactly where I'm going to leave it on that. So I'm, like I said, I'm kind of halfway. I don't wish ill on anybody, but I understand. You dig? Yeah. So, all right, before we get into the main topic, we're going to we got William on here. I knew he would be able to kind of shoot from the hip on this. We're going to get an update on what he's doing, and it's probably going to be a great help to many of you out there that are on your way to doing the very same thing. So with that said, we're going to go to my man, Eric Sider. Be back in a second.
Hey, Eric Sider here with your Pimpcast tip of the day. Today's tip: we are the system. Don't hate the player, hate the game. This is a common saying meant to shift responsibility from the individual to the system or environment they exist in. While it's important to understand the influence of the system or environment, in permaculture, we know everything starts with personal responsibility. We can't change a system without changing ourselves first. We can't help others without helping ourselves first. Starting your own garden is the equivalent of putting your oxygen mask on first. A more appropriate saying is, without players, there is no game. Without consumers, there is no economy. Without soldiers, there is no war. Without taxes, there is no government. And without gardeners, there is no food. We, the people, actually have all the power, but only if we work together. As long as we continue to fight amongst ourselves over nonsense, we remain slaves to the system. While certain issues may seem important, if they don't remove our dependence on the system, they change nothing. We don't need to agree with each other or even like each other to work together. We simply need to respect everyone's right to live their life as they see fit, as long as it doesn't harm others. We can't change a system we depend on. You can find me on YouTube and Instagram at Eric Sider. And if you're in need of permaculture t-shirts or remote permaculture consultation and design, head over to ericsider.com.
Bam! That's my dog right there. Got me up here having water coming out of my nose the way you started that. Don't hate the player, hate the game. I was like, man, it just kind of hit me for a loop, but he's right there. You know what? You green-haired, people walking across the street, you do whatever you want. Don't start no SH and there won't be no IT. That's how I roll, man. So we don't have to. But you know what? Son, do you or do you not agree that it's okay if somebody doesn't like me, it is if you don't want to give me business, if you don't want to do business with me, is it or is it not your right to do so?
Yeah, completely within your right. And I think it's within your right to refuse service to whoever you don't want to serve as well. I think it should be completely up to you.
For any reason whatsoever, y'all. I'm totally down with that. I mean, and then obviously somebody's going to say, well, what if, I always get this response. Well, what about Jim Crow? And what about all this? They wouldn't let black people in the restaurants. Well, I got news for you. They didn't let black people in the restaurants because black people don't tip. That's why. Hey, I'm joking, but not really. Yeah.
Yeah. Ask Kendra.
Yeah. Ask my cousin. Yeah. So, no, I mean, I'm totally down with that. For real, I'm dead serious. I mean, the market will always decide. Here's one of the little stories about Donald Trump, even though I'm not the world's biggest fan, but let me tell you a little story about Donald Trump that nobody ever wants to talk about. Back in the day when he was, before he came up with Mar-a-Lago, they had this white shoe club where only old money could go there and golf. They didn't allow Jews and they didn't allow blacks. And if you were Mexican or black, then believe me, you were one of the people working as a waiter. Trump saw what was going on and said, okay, I'm going to create Mar-a-Lago. That's exactly why he created it. So all the other people, the market will find a way. So if you don't want to do business with people that got green hair, there is somebody that will create a business to deal with those people. If you want to create a business that doesn't deal with blacks, somebody will create that business. So that's what I'm saying. Instead of waiting on Uncle Sam and the law to decide you should do this, you got to wait on that person. Let's say it's somebody like those people baking cakes. You don't want to make a cake for a gay wedding? Why not? Okay, I'm sure you mean to tell me there ain't some fruitcake cake designer that can't make them a cake? I mean, this should be
the majority of cake designers, I think, will.
Well, son, I think we did the trifecta to absolutely positively get this one demonetized. So for anybody that didn't check this out, you'll probably catch it on the audio stream. All right, so before we get into William here, y'all, I want to remind you, EMP Shield, $50 off with promo code PERMA. We got a lot of crazy stuff going on in this world, y'all. They got them for your vehicles. They even have the micro that you could put on your smaller stuff or in those tight, really hard to find places inside an engine compartment in some of these newer cars. They got it all. Look, the idea isn't to go bar hopping after something jumps off. The idea is to get your butt back to the house. Also for your house, speaking of the house, I'm a journeyman electrician, 25 years. Once again, just like Redemption Shield, I reached out to EMP Shield because I've installed transient voltage surge suppressors forever in this space. And there ain't even a close second to EMP Shield. So like I said, I've installed them, things that weren't anywhere near as good in some very, very consequential places all throughout the United States of amnesia. All right, with that said, like I said, $50 off with promo code PERMA. All right, so we're going to get right into it. Been doing a lot of interviews lately, and I kind of like it that way. If anybody didn't check it out, y'all, check out the entire series I did with Nathan Reynolds, a survivor of generational SRA abuse. I got to say it that way. Anybody that knows what SRA is, please put it in the comments, because if I say it out loud, if I say it out loud, I'm sorry.
Look up the Linen Road. I think that's his website, right? The Linen.
Yeah, but SRA is what I'm talking about. It's the kind of abuse that he suffered as a child, and he survived all that. So, folks, I'm sure it's one of those bonus episodes. That's actually part 3 with him. We didn't get into any of the real filthy stuff on any of that, but it was really fun episode. So if you haven't checked it out, do. All right, son. So for those that don't know who are new to this channel, William is my son. He and his family packed up, moved to our other place in Texas at an undisclosed location for obvious reasons. And he's basically, we started on that place and then got out of there, still owned the land, moved to North Carolina. 5 years later, he comes back. So, son, why don't you pick it up from there? What was it like when you showed up initially?
Well, when I first showed up, it was completely overgrown, and it had been like ransacked by some meth heads down the street. The knocker get shot people. Apparently, some new people moved into that place, and they're worse off than the original dude. They came in and ran over the gate with the 4-wheeler, came and robbed the place, took everything of value for the most part out of the storage container, stole the window units and all that stuff. And since then, I've just been cleaning it up. I've gotten everything that's fenced in the area. I've gotten that mostly cleared. I'm turning the backwoods into silvopasture right now. And I'm waiting for spring before I start doing any clearing on the swales up in the front of the property. That's where we have like a lot of fruit trees and stuff like that planted. But I want to see some vegetation before I start clearing stuff, just to make sure that I'm not wiping out any fruit trees or anything like that. I just recently got the garden started back up again. All the Sashugi boxes that were around there, they had mostly rotted out. I don't know that they rotted out, or it was a lot of termite pressure, because as I was taking those boards out, I found a lot of ants and termites. So I'm thinking that was more likely the cause versus the rot. So I got those boards out, and then I rearranged the beds recently to, they're going east and west. So that makes it a little bit more on contour to help deal with these torrential downpours that Texas is prone to get. I have 8 beds that are 3 feet wide and 40 feet long now. 2 of the beds are going to be dedicated to mostly perennial species, syntropic design, where I'll grow annuals in between the perennials, like the fruit trees and stuff like that. And then the other 6 beds are all focused on annual production. And the main focus of the annual production on these beds are for the pigs and chickens I'm getting soon. It's for their feed and stuff like that. Some of it will be for human consumption as well, but the garden that we have at my father-in-law's place is going to be more for human consumption. This one is going to be mostly for the pig and chicken consumption. And yeah, I just recently figured out how to get some water pumped through the garden and on a sprinkler system. So that'll be a upcoming video here pretty soon. I'm going to pump it out of the pond into an IBC tote, move it up to the garden with the truck, move it up to the garden, pump it into another IBC tote, and then from there use the pump to pressurize a sprinkler like you've been doing with the compost extracts and stuff like that. I'm going to use that to water the garden. And I'll eventually set it up on a timer and stuff like that, so when I'm out on consultation, I don't have to worry about whether or not the garden's getting watered and whatnot. And yeah, that's been my main focus so far. My next step is going to be fixing the driveway, because there are some areas, it seemed all 100% good for the most part at first, and then we got some heavy rains, and then there's some low areas that kind of sunk and have turned into mud. And I've almost gotten stuck a few times. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is getting the driveway squared away. If it was bad when I first showed up, then I would have started with getting the driveway squared away. But since it didn't create an issue until later, I'm just now getting it done. We have a dry spell here pretty soon. So I'm hopefully going to get that white building moved over to the new location. And then I can start getting the storage container rearranged, getting another storage container in, and getting the barn built, and refurbishing that white building over that's going to be on the west side of the property. But yeah, that's what's going on with me. It's and then also filling in, doing permaculture consultations at the same time, as well as I started a new series called the Permaculture Q&A. So if you have any questions relating to homesteading or permaculture, you just leave it down in the comments with the hashtag or #, depending on your generation, at the beginning of your comment, and then leave your question. Leave that down at the comments on any of the videos, and then I'll get those and compile it into a video where I answer a bunch of your permaculture questions. I got that kind of from Jeff Lawton and kind of from Knife Center, which Knife Center is a knife YouTube channel, and they do a show called Knife AQ, where they just take questions about knives and answer them on the YouTube channel. And that's kind of what I'm doing over on the YouTube channel. It's a new little series I'm doing, and it seems to be helpful to people so far. They seem to like that option, because a lot of people just have basic questions that they want answered that they've tried to research before, but during their research, they get multiple different types of answers, and they're not sure what's true. Back to AI, if you do ask AI about any kind of gardening or tree planting or anything like that, any kind of information pertaining to that, it is, in my experience, it has been wrong every single time, or a very, very generic answer that has not been beneficial, especially when it comes to like garden varieties and whatnot. Yeah.
Let me back you up a little bit. I'm sorry. So you do have rural water out there, and you also have power. Do you have any of that turned on?
I don't have any of that turned on yet. The reason I'm not too focused about the water yet is it's all filled with chlorine, and I mean decab gets like, they constantly get like the warning saying like, oh, don't use the water right now because it's not even in good shape. So instead of dealing with that constantly and having to worry about filtering that out or putting it in a tank and then treating it with humic acid or anything like that, I'm just going to pump it out of the pond, which I know has really good, soil, or not soil life, but microbes and stuff. It's already active. I can get that into the garden, turn it aerobic, and then really get a beneficial water source, as opposed to something that's going to inhibit soil microbe growth and all that stuff. I haven't turned on the power yet. I need to go through, I'm not sure what, as far as the buildings go, I'm not sure what's been chewed up or not. And then also, I don't know the people who robbed the place. I don't know what they've cut and what they haven't cut. You know what I mean? So, especially when the power going to the storage container. So I don't even want to mess with the turning on the power until I get everything disconnected and looked at first.
Well, what I would do is basically pull that meter and start over. I'd scrap everything, considering what could have potentially been done. A lot of that was direct burial stuff. It was all meant to be temporary. So I would get rid of everything south of that, from that pole. I'd pull the meter base and just get it all done. So not trying to speak Greek out there. What's that?
Would you keep the panel that's on the pole?
I would keep the panel, but everything coming out of that panel, I'd get rid of, because there ain't no telling what hooplehead, crackhead came out of there and did what. There ain't no telling. So I would scrap literally everything from there. I wouldn't use a single thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just probably going to be safer that way. The water, I mean, like you said, I mean, you could literally smell the chlorine coming out of that rural water. So,
Yeah.
Okay, so what's your plans regarding? There's already one storage container out there, so what's the plan? Put another one out there and do what with it?
Yeah, I'm going to put another storage container out there that's going to be parallel with the one that's already out there. I'm going to readjust the one that's out there to make it line up a little bit better. And it's going to be a drive-through barn, basically. So there's going to be storage container, and then I'm going to hire the Texas boys to come out to build trusses over those storage containers, and that'll be the roof. And then the actual containers themselves can be used as storage or shop or whatever. And then I'm going to capture the water off the roof of that barn, which should be a substantial amount, considering it's, 40 feet long by whatever the width dimension is going to be. I can get a bunch of rainwater stored there, and then pipe it into the manifold that's running to all the hydrants and all that stuff, and
Mm.
then try to start using the rainwater, pressurized rainwater, as the main water source out there, and then just the city water, the rural water, as a backup just in case. And then the trailer is going to be just to the west of side of that barn, so in between the barn and the that real thick wood line of the big oaks and all that stuff. That's where the trailer is going to be. That way, the oaks can shade the house during the western sun in the summer. I don't know if you remember, but it got pretty hot on the side of that building. Um, it'll be there. It'll be cooler in the summer in the evening, and it just seems to be a better location. And then I'm going to refurbish that, and then the whole property is going to be turned into a homestead school where you can come out, and I think it's a much better alternative to a consultation that I could give you. If I were to take a consultation and compare it to like an in-person school, the in-person school is going to teach you way more than any consultation. You'll actually go through and you'll understand the principles as opposed to me just telling you what to do. If you understand why you need your garden close to your property, or why your chickens are close to your garden, or why your pigs are, running around the perimeter or anything like that, if you understand those principles, then you can take those principles and apply it to any property that you encounter. If I just come over and do a consultation for you, well, you only know what to do to that property, unless you have like a PDC background and you understand the reasoning behind everything. So I think this is going to be a much better option. I foresee building a bunch of different homestead schools throughout the country. I want to get one in most regions in the United States, so that way there's one here which mimics a Mediterranean climate. So people from the actual Mediterranean could come out here, and they could take what they learned here and mimic it there if they wanted to. I want to get one in an arid environment, which, to be honest, I could build another one on the other side of Texas to make an arid environment one, or I could venture out to wherever, build an arid environment. I would love to do a subtropical and a tropical one, and another, variety of a temperate one, maybe in a colder climate, and then possibly one in up in Idaho. That seems like a very popular place for people to go homesteading. So it would make sense to put a school there. So, and there's also a huge homesteading crowd that wasn't here before. When we left before, nobody cared about homesteading. Now that I'm back, there's a huge homesteading crowd. Most people, they're not recognizing what permaculture is yet, but they understand the homesteading movement, I should say.
So you don't have a bunch of people when you go out to a consultation in Texas asking who's going to pick the fruit?
Not a single person. Now, to be honest, every consultation I've done out here in Texas wasn't for people from Texas.
Ah,
Yeah,
what?
they weren't
Okay,
from
I got
Texas.
it. Yeah. So, I mean, for those that don't know, one of the things, and it was almost, I mean, we didn't even know how to, it was like every time you turn around to people that were indigenous in Texas, when you would do any kind of consultation, whether I was in Sherman, Texas, it didn't matter, universally, and I don't understand it, they would ask, who's going to pick all the fruit? And I'm like,
Yeah.
are you that trifling? I mean, what? Who's going to pick the fruit? That's a good problem to have. Who's going to pick all these nuts? I remember this lady complaining about all these pecans one time. I'm like, I'll come get them for you. So I'll handle that for you. Yeah, no problem.
Another common question from every transplant that I've done a consultation for, another complaint has been, what's up with the contractors? What's up with them not showing up? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one, I did a consultation for Link Wayne. Remember Link?
Oh, yeah.
Music. Yeah, I did a consultation for him. His family's awesome. You've got to come down and meet them. They're an awesome family. But his name is Link. His son's name is Olm. Both their first names are Lincoln, but together it makes Lincoln as well. So it's Link and Olm. But Olm had to learn plumbing because every time they hired a plumber to come out, everything was in worse shape.
Wow.
Like, they would have to come through and just fix everybody's mistakes.
Hey, hey, if you run across Link again, man, tell him I love his music, man. I'd love to be able to use it in a video. The guy's
Oh yeah.
playing slides on the guitar at the same doggone time. And I love that song that time we listened to it right here, man. And I got a CD. He sent me a CD, man. You're talking about some legit music right there and a true artist. So yeah.
His son makes music too. His
Oh,
son
okay.
makes music too. And if you like rap, then I mean that's what he makes, but it's real good, honest, just like clean rap. And it's really, really good. They're both a very musical family.
No, man, I'm totally digging it. Well, man, I'm glad to hear that there's I mean, I remember the problem we would run to back there was, what good does it? I'm okay if you're near Dallas or Houston or any big major population area, you're not going to have a problem getting rid of clean food that you grow. Nobody around us, man. It was like, okay, I got my truck. I'll eat hot dogs every night as long as I got this truck. And that was the mindset. So I'm glad to see that maybe some of the transplants are bringing in, some different ways of thinking. So that's good to go. So let me get this right, man. Your goal is to make this. I mean, I think it's an awesome vision where people could come there, because one of the biggest complaints in permaculture is what does the swale look like? And they never actually see it with their own two eyes. It is amazing. And it's not anybody's fault. It's just very few people have a swale that somebody could have actually come out there, look at it and say, oh, shoot, that's a swale. And like you said, if you can see, it may not at all situate to your house, but I like your vision on how you're saying, okay, they had it situated a different, but I saw conceptually how these things link together and it makes life easier. Is that the plan? Where they can go there, learn, take it home?
Yeah, that's the plan. And then documenting the whole process on YouTube as well, so people can see like the order of operations, which is 99% of what consultations are, is just telling you what to do in what order and where to do it. Yeah, that's the plan. And I want to get and I think 5 acres is a sweet spot because it gives you enough property to do some sort of grazing. And it's also like it's what most people are going to be buying. Somewhere around like 2 to 15 acres has been the most popular like land purchase. Most people don't buy like hundreds of acres or anything like that. So having a 100-acre school there, or a school at all, wouldn't make sense unless I'm doing multiple schools on the same property. But yeah, I think five acres is a good sweet spot. It's definitely more than enough land to grow all your own food if you want to. Yeah, and I think that's another thing they'll realize is that they don't need as much land as they think they do, especially if you team up with your local community and maybe one person works on a certain aspect and then you work on a different aspect. Somebody's over here is doing dairy, you're over here focusing on chicken and rabbit production, and another person is mostly focused on like the market garden, something like that. If you can build that community, then you can get away with a lot less land than you would need if you're trying to do everything yourself.
That's exactly what David Holmgren, co-inventor of permaculture, that's exactly what he's come up with. And there was also a guy, man, I can't think of his name, is a Canadian. Look, I mean, with the way things are getting, it's okay. Well, take where you live. There's that guy down at the end of the road before you hit the hard road, had all those blueberry bushes out there, and they were absolutely prolific, but never did anything with them.
Well, there's been an update there. There's been an update on that property. Apparently, before we left, the guy who planted all those had passed away, and then his survived wife, lived there for a while. She sold it to some WWE wrestler. They did nothing with it for 2 years, and now there's this new person that just moved in. He's putting up fence around the property, and I noticed he started clearing up that blueberry patch because that thing got completely overgrown. There's a bunch of sweet gums growing in between the blueberries and stuff, but I noticed he's over there clearing up that patch, and I think he started pruning. I kind of want to go help and maybe intervene a little bit and say, hey, dude, if you need some help, let me know.
Well, I mean,
all these blueberries.
Well, you got trees that are going to be that are going to need a little TLC. Obviously, you haven't been there for a while. A little bit of pruning and getting those guys back in order. I mean, it right there. You got a community like, hey, man, I'll help you pick these blueberries, and maybe you help me pick these, Ein Shimmer apples when they come around, or the Honeycrisp, or whatever the case may be. So, I mean, this can absolutely be the case. But yeah, I think you're also going to knock it out of the park when people realize, okay, I really don't need that much. And if I can go somewhere and then see all these things where there isn't a tactical concern, because that's part of the reason of, having people out here is now, where my house is, which I know you can find if you get online and you go looking, but you don't know where everything is. But when you're walking through and seeing all these different things, there's certain things I don't want people to know. There's, security things that I don't want people to know about. So I can't, it's kind of cool that you can actually have this piece of property and use it as a training area and, allow to a certain extent, like Jeff Lawton does, for people to make mistakes there.
Yeah. I mean, Jeff Lawton's farm is the Permaculture Research Institute. He's out there like testing new ideas, practicing and stuff like that, and allows mistakes to be made because that's the only way you're going to advance or learn anything. Yeah, I mean, I would like to eventually convert a family of the students, or like some of the students or something like that, into the groundskeepers for that place in the future. That way I can go off and multiply the other schools eventually, and then find a groundskeeper for that place, and then find a groundskeeper for that place, and stuff like that.
Well, just make absolutely sure they ain't got green hair.
Yeah. Yeah,
You ain't gonna get them out.
Yeah, they better be a Hulk fan if they got green hair. If they're a Hulk fan, then we can get along. If they're they them, if they're confused on their gender, I don't know if they're gonna make it.
Well, hey, Matthew's saying he's on 16 acres, just a couple of miles off of the Blue Ridge Parkway, and he's trying to get a homestead started, but his health isn't there for him or his wife. Matthew, I mean, going back to what William said a moment ago, that might be where community comes in, because there are a whole lot. Joel Salatin talks about this a lot. And, William, maybe you might want to give him some advice regarding some of that, because you can go to woofers. I've heard good things. I've heard bad things. But there's also other ways you can go about doing it too, where you can partner up with some of these young folks. Do you have any ideas on that?
Well, that's another thing where this school can come into play. I can take that's one thing where this school can come into play, because if they come and attend the school, and I mean, during that process, there's going to be an obvious vetting process. I'm going to be able to see if they're, sane, if they're hardworking, if they're picking it up and stuff like that. And I could eventually put them in contact with people who have the property, who are in the same exact situation that Matthew that made that comment? Yeah, that Matthew's in. And that way there's like a mutual benefit. There's a lot of people that are my age and younger and older that are looking for property that can't afford it or find it right now. And there's a lot of people that are much, much older that are not in a position to take care of their land. That'll probably end up going to, after they pass, it'll probably be sold by their kids and then sold off to one of the BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, one of those guys, and then it will never be owned by the population again.
Yeah, that's exactly how it's going down right now. Whole lot of news stories as of late talking about how all these young folks just can't find anything. So those of us that do have land, or maybe you're getting on in years, or maybe the health ain't working out, it's really the only solution we have right now. And like William said, it is absolutely critical that you don't get some lunatics out there, or somebody that feels like, prime example, the bakery I work with, son, they had a girl show up on Monday, go to work. This is a couple of months ago, show up to work on Monday, and then like 15 minutes into the job, they can't find her. They go outside and they're like, hey, you okay? We need you inside. Well, I just got to take periodic breaks whenever the mood strikes me. And this girl's like in her early 20s. And I'm like, and they're like, well, hey, we can't operate a business like this. They're being like way more polite than I ever would. And this is
Yeah.
like, hey, you can't operate a business like that. And they're like, and I guess the response was, well, had I known it was going to be like this, I don't believe I would have accepted the job, something like that. I'm like, man, I don't even know what planet I'm on. Hey, so
It wasn't an offer. You applied. What do you mean accepted the job? You came and asked for a doggone job.
And check this out, just to even look, I can't even believe this, but just to get them to go in there and do some of the most basic things, they were paying over like 22, 23 bucks an hour to come in there, and you can't even do that job. And I'm like, okay, man, I don't know about anybody else, but 20 bucks ain't nothing to sneeze at. I mean, I know it doesn't go as far today, but hey, man, this guy, so they basically said, hey, this is what we got. And they're like, okay, I'm out. First day. So, yeah, clearly, Matthew, you don't want to get hooked up with one of those. And thanks for all the kind words, Colleen. And Colleen wrote in the chat basically what the SRA stood for. Sorry, son, I got a question here. This one here comes from Nathaniel, and basically saying, hey, I got a question. I have a large open area where I do a no-till food garden. I'm going to condense this. So basically, there's a chance that it might be on a septic tank. Let me say this again. There's a chance that it might be on a septic tank or pretty close to it. Home was built in the 50s, and anyway, he's wondering whether or not he's going to put his family at risk by planting a garden possibly over the septic tank or the leach field or anything like that. You got an opinion on that?
I would say it depends on the varieties that you're growing. Earthship, it really depends on the varieties you're growing and how far. Like, are you doing raised beds and planting on top of a leach field, or you said no-till? So I'm assuming you're planting directly into the ground. Like, you don't want to be planting lettuce or anything like that. You probably don't want to be planting potatoes or anything like that. I would stick to your perennial species if they're directly over the lateral lines, because think of it like your tree trunk is a super long straw with a long filter. By the time it gets to your apple, it's not going to be an issue at all. But yeah, don't plant lettuce over it. Or if you do, you can solve the issue by doing raised beds. And that'll be up off the ground enough so where it won't cause an issue.
That was exactly what I was going to say too. But the only downside with doing the trees is that, you could have your trees get caught up in them lateral lines. Then you might have some problems. So I was going to suggest the same thing, unless you got a really shallow root. Well, you can do the same exact thing with trees too. You don't necessarily have to dig into the soil and put that on the downhill side. You can just mound it up on one side. It's a method that Stefan Sobkowiak does also, because his water table is really, really high. And you just go a couple of feet and you're in the water. So if that's the case and you want an orchard out there, maybe that area might be better suited for, like you said, a raised bed. If you're going to use it and there's any concern, I was going to suggest raised bed as well. And I was additionally going to say, hey, if you're doing any trees out there, maybe you can dump a bunch of soil out there and then put those trees, get something that isn't going to be, real deep rooting kind of thing. Something that's going to be a little more shallow.
That's where potted trees would actually come in handy, because they ain't going to go they don't have that taproot. It's not going to go too far into the soil or anything. So that's where it might be a preference to use potted trees versus bare root.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways you can go about it, but if you're dead set on putting annuals out there, I would consider doing some raised beds. There's a lot of good options as far as all that's concerned. Ryan saying, hey, when propagating trees indoors, at what time of year do you move them outside to the permanent spot? You got an opinion on that?
I would do all your tree propagation outside, and keep them acclimated to the temperatures and the climate outside. I don't know when you would ever, other than like if you're doing figs and stuff like that, if you're trying to get them root in preparation for spring or something like that, or mulberries or whatever those are, then I would wait till you stop having any more like overnight frosts or overnight freezes. But other than that, I would do all your tree. I would do what Akiva Silver does and do all your tree propagation outside.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Plus, it's going to be less of a shock. As far as doing them inside now, unless you're doing like Meyer lemons or something like that, and you live in an environment like this, I get it. Or you got some limes, whatever that you got to bring in for the winter. Yeah, that's one of the cases right there. But I typically am not a fan. I'm going right back to Mark Shepard's stun method, which now stands for strategic total utter neglect. Now he doesn't mean just put them in there and walk away. It's like they require very little, which is exactly what we ought to expect in all of our farm animals, all of our plants. I'm with Mark Shepard on that 100%. Even with the people that we associate with, I mean, they should be low maintenance. So, when it comes to those things, I'm going to try to put them in some of the harshest conditions. In fact, your mom's doing something of an experiment. I don't want to get out in front of my skis on this, but she's doing something of an experiment of doing that very thing where you put them in very harsh conditions and then you change it up. And there's some really good, awesome science on some of that stuff. But I'm not for babying anything unless the only thing I'm real cool about growing inside is microgreens, which I try to eat every single day, folks. If you can try to eat something out of your garden every day, that's a habit I've gotten myself into. So, but that garden could also be inside. That's about the only thing. So, at least for me. So I'm eating these microgreens and I'm not spending a fortune out here, going to these people down. So
you can't even buy microgreens around me, Dad.
What's that?
You can't even buy microgreens around me. It's not even an option.
No, and it ain't going to be not around there, man. I mean, is it something still of a food desert out there? I mean, people tend to think that food deserts only happen in the hood, but tell them the reality of that part of rural America.
It's waking up. It's on the verge. I would say it's like people are becoming more and more aware of what like clean food and good food is. I have been noticing a lot of like farm-owned meat stores or meat markets opening up around here. So that's a good sign because it's going to start with the meat and then it'll eventually move on to the produce and stuff like that. I honestly haven't spent much time in Texarkana or anything like that to see what they've got going on. I think I've been to Harbor Freight a few times in Texarkana, and that's about it. Mount Pleasant, they have a couple of those like health food stores and stuff. The Walmarts here have a few more options. It's changing. It's progressing as far as clean food goes. If you go to like Longview or Tyler or anything like that, then you have access to whatever you need. The Tractor Supply is starting to sell bare root trees here.
Really?
Yeah, there's been a couple more places starting to sell bare root trees. There's a nursery that's in New Boston. It was around when we lived here, but I never heard of it before. They sell a lot of support species over there. So it is changing, it is updating and stuff like that. People are becoming more and more aware of what clean food is. So yeah, it's on the upswing. That's good.
All right. Well, son, I'm gonna have to get bouncing here in a minute because I got a live stream I got to do for another thing altogether. But
Okay.
look, man, everybody out there is giving you a collective shout out, and folks, I want y'all to pray for him and pray for his family, pray for my grandbaby, pray for everybody, and let's pray for each other because I mean we are getting into consequential times, and the way out of it. I want William on here from time to time to do updates to give all of you folks hope that are just hacking it out of the wilderness and wondering, what do I do? How do I start? Where do I go? All these different things. Well, he's on top of it. He's out here doing it right now at a place that was ripped off. It was robbed. He's starting from square one, not completely from square one, because there were at least trees out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like if just like final thoughts real quick, don't think that you're out of time to get started. Don't think like all is lost. You still have plenty of time to get food put back. You have plenty of time. Act as if nothing is negative going on in the world and still make progress on your homestead. Or if you're looking to buy land, you still have time to buy land. Just go ahead and get it done and get started on your homesteading process.
Before we get bouncing out of, well, son, okay, before we get bouncing out of here, what is the one thing you would tell? Okay, so somebody just emerged from the matrix. They realized, oh, shoot, man, prices are going through the roof. Things are getting crazy, going to get crazier. Where would you tell them to start?
get your food security squared away. So get at least 6 months of food put back, enough for every member of family or a member of your family, member of your household, or anybody that might be showing up. Make sure you have 6 months of food put back. And the reason behind that is that it makes sure that it'll get you till the next turnip and radish harvest, at least. It'll get you that far. And then from there, it kind of depends on your property, but work on access and then some more food security and water.
Man, we've got a lot of friends here in the chat, Midwest Preparedness Project. And then, I like Northern Girl Hobbies, Stack It to the Rafters. I mean, you can't go wrong right now. I'm not lying when I tell you this freeze dryer, it's running right now. It turns off long enough for me to thaw it out and put something else back in there, because I really believe things are getting consequential, but it doesn't have to be the end of the world. I'm not operating that way. I'm like, okay, I got a lot of food that I need to get put away. And you might as well, if you got a freeze dryer, or if you need one, we got ones down below that you can go ahead and it helps us out. But at the same time, if you don't, dry goods ain't that hard to find, and they're not terribly expensive. I mean, there's still, even though rice went from $17, I think, up to, I think 25 last time I looked, it may be higher than that now. It's still a bargain for a 50-pound bag of rice, y'all. That's a lot of calories in there. So, hey, y'all, I want to get everybody out. Son, thank you for being on. We'll have to get you on from time to time. Maybe we can get you on from month to month and give everybody an update and give them a little bit of hope of what's going on out there. All right. I love you, pal.
I love you too.
All right. Hold steady.
Okay.
Till next time, y'all, stay alert. Stay alive.
Stay alive.
The cock that you spitting that manicotti, yeah, I'm talking saucy. All you wanna build is a prison world full of pet Tamagotchis. Thinking kamikaze got me out of body like I'm Goku SS3. Woo! They wanna push me to the center like a cell. They wanna spin up at the center of the nexus, me. They want